Happy birthday to Nintendo! Hey Nintendo fans and collectors, Nintendo turns 127 today. Most people have only really known them as a company since they've been a gaming company, but of course they were around for nearly a century before that. Most of the things that comes to mind first is the Nintendo Entertainment System. So in this video, I just want to commemorate their birthday, talk about their history a little bit, some of the things that are no longer around anymore, and also their future, of course, and just to talk about some of my favorite moments with Nintendo throughout their history, and especially with gaming. So the first thing to start out Nintendo, they actually kind of got their roots as a card company, as a card producer company, making things like Hanafuda cards, and I have talked about these in the past. I have done a video about these. So these Hanafuda cards are pretty cool. These ones are actually kind of like a matching game. It's more difficult to play, I think, today. A lot of people don't have the time or the patience to play this kind of thing, but the artwork on these cards are really cool. This one is from Club Nintendo. I do have a few other decks of cards from Nintendo, and you actually see one right here. So this is an original card deck. It does say Nintendo on it, which is pretty interesting. I gave one of these away years ago, but this one is not nearly as old as the company, 127 years old. So clearly Nintendo's no longer making cards or things like that, but they do sometimes branch out into board games like Zelda Monopoly, and I guess Zelda... There's also, I think maybe there's not Zelda Chess, but there's Mario Chess, and there's a host of other board games. So they're not really involved in cards as much anymore, but they've really expanded out. Now, after that, of course, most people know Nintendo for their bread and butter video gaming. Now, the first console was the family computer that really hit the ground running for Nintendo, and this, a lot of people say, saved the gaming industry. I'm not sure if that's completely true, but of course it was a tremendous success, and it did bring gaming back to the masses. The Nintendo Entertainment System Action Set is the one I have. That's the first NES system that I got. Then I did get the family computer. Then after that, of course, we moved on to the Super Famicom and the Super Nintendo, one of my favorite 2D consoles of all time. But personally, my favorite console ever is the Nintendo 64. The very first console I ever bought was the Nintendo 64 console, and it was actually this one, the original black one that most people do have, sometimes called charcoal black. I didn't get the box with it. I just got it used from a gaming store. I think I paid, I really need to remember this, something like $70 or $80 for it. I also got Star Fox with it in Super Mario 64. I bought some of those games actually before I even got the console, and that's what got me into Nintendo gaming. Way back in like the late 90s, maybe 97 or 98 or something like that, maybe a year after the N64's launch. Such great memories with the N64. I'm actually going to a Guy's Cottage weekend. This weekend, I'm bringing in a retro, I would call it retro now, N64. We're probably going to hopefully play some multiplayer Mario. And Mario, I meant 64, and maybe Mario Party, maybe Mario Tennis, so many different Mario games, of course, but even GoldenEye and things like that. Love playing those retro games. We actually got into it last weekend as well with some of my friends. That's just a tremendously good time. Then you move ahead to the Gamecube, another one of my favorite consoles. It didn't sell that well at 23 million units, but really, I love this console. It has a lot of sleeper titles that people just completely passed up, and I really enjoy playing on the GameCube. From there, they had a smash hit with the Wii. They rode that success of the motion control on the Wii controller, of course, and it was successful for a very long time, but there's a lot of shovelware games on that console, so it kind of hurt it in the long run. Sold over 100 million units, and that brings us to the Wii U. They tried to still ride the success of the Wii. They even kept the same name. They know they made a lot of mistakes, and I'm really hoping the NX console learns from the Wii U. And Ubisoft even announced, I think the president of Ubisoft said he's really excited for the NX console. It looks like it's something new from Nintendo, as they always have been innovating. So what I want you to take from all this, and what I take from all this, is Nintendo is never afraid to innovate. Even if you look at their controllers throughout history, their controllers changed tremendously. If you then look at their handheld consoles have changed quite a bit over time as well. They're never afraid to take risks. And when I look at other companies, and I do have to specifically name Xbox and PlayStation, even when you look at their controllers, their companies are never taking risks. I do feel like they're the exact same kind of thing over and over, and they really are just slightly modifying and upgrading their own system and their own controller, whereas Nintendo can be way out there. So I'm absolutely excited to see what Nintendo comes up with next with the NX console. This is right before the announcement of the console, so it could be anything. I saw a really cool thing on Twitter and on Reddit actually today about Nintendo. They have this new patent that you can basically project any sort of screen onto like 3D surfaces, and it makes it look like it's a 2D screen. It makes it look really, really clear, which is fantastic. I don't think that's launched with an NX console, but you never know, and that's just cool to look forward to. Nintendo's always doing something strange, something new. Today, of course, their biggest thing is Amiibo. They're really selling well with the Amiibo. They're still going decently strong. I'm looking forward to new Amiibo coming out, especially the new Zelda Amiibo, and there's so many of them out there. I also kept the boxes for a lot of them, and I have them up and around the room. Another huge thing for Nintendo right now is the World of Nintendo figures, and it's funny how games aren't the biggest thing for Nintendo right now, but the NX console is on the verge. Pokemon Go is absolutely crazy big as well, and I've really been enjoying playing that occasionally, but I really want to get back into some home console gaming. Color Splash is coming out for Paper Mario. I don't know what to think of it yet. I was really disappointed when it was first announced, but I'm actually getting my hopes up a little bit. They changed a lot. They've made a lot of weird decisions, which really should call for another video in the future. And they've made a lot of silly gaming decisions and really are just ostracizing a lot of their fans and their fan base when we want a certain thing. Now, to take a step back again, there's a lot of things that aren't around, such as these Nintendo Power magazines. There was actually a project to get scans, high-definition scans of all of these up online, but Nintendo did take that down as well. I understand that Nintendo has to protect their IP. Sometimes they go overboard with it. The Metroid 2 game that was being remade was also shut down, and Pokemon Uranium was shut down. So Nintendo is protecting their trademark, but only to a certain extent. Sometimes I feel like they should kind of ease up a bit, especially even sometimes here on YouTube. They're taking too much away from the gamer, and I don't feel like they're listening to us enough. So I'm really hoping Nintendo, as they hit 127 years old, I hope they learn from their mistakes, they start to listen to their audience a little bit, listen to their consumers, see what we want, because I really do want a Star Fox game that controls like the Nintendo 64 game. I want a Paper Mario sequel to Thousand Year Door, finally. I want the Zelda game that they've actually been making right now with Breath of the Wild, and I'm very excited for that. But no one really wanted Amiibo Festival for Animal Crossing. So Nintendo, hopefully you listen to your fans, learn from your mistakes, move on, but I absolutely love the fact that they always innovate, and they're always willing to take risks. They're never scared to do what they think is right and to come up with something absolutely creative. Happy birthday, Nintendo. Please feel free to maybe comment below what's your favorite Nintendo gaming memory of all time. I would love to hear your opinion as well. Thanks so much for watching. Feel free to fill that like bucket. Follow me on all the social media links in the description below the video. And remember, as always, go collect them all and keep smiling while gaming. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.